Hey guys, we are Group 1 and we are here to do our digital story assignment on the topic social influence. We incorporated parenting style with social influence and we went around and asked people a few questions regarding our topic, and we are adding our opinions and thoughts at the end of this project.
How were your parents growing up?
My parents, they were amazing. They were, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so we always grew up hanging out with her. My dad was always home on the weekends and in the evenings, and they were always really involved in our lives, so I was really blessed in their area.
That's awesome.
So my parents were actually divorced, so my mom was the main one that raised me. She was still is the best mom. She supported us pretty much the whole time, and nothing wrong with her.
Okay, they were pretty good growing up. They gave me a lot of independence in like middle school and high school, and kind of just trusted me to be more mature. And so, like in turn, like that helped me make more mature decisions because I felt like I was being trusted. And I was also raised in a church, so yeah, lots of Christian influence with that.
My parents grew up in Southern California, Ventura County. One of them was from a very poor town called Oxnard. Had 5 or 6 siblings from a couple of parents, and my other parent, my mom, grew up in a wealthier part of California.
Well, that's a loaded question. My parents were actually divorced whenever I was younger, but I didn't feel like I had, not a mom or not a dad. My family still stayed very close, so I think I had a good family growing up, good Christian family that provided for their kids, so yeah.
I love my parents. I'm so thankful for them. They're a huge blessing. And like looking back on my childhood, I realized like how great it was to have such loving parents that taught me to love God and taught me to love my siblings, and they loved me well. They were very supportive, and yeah, I'm so grateful for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so my parents were very loving and supportive, and definitely held me to high standards for how I behaved and how I did in school, and so I'm thankful for that.
You was growing up?
They were good. They were always really nice and kind, and they always provided for me and were loving.
That's awesome. What was the most common way that you were punished as a child?
When I was really little, it was spanking, but after I grew out of that, it would be like, send me to my room or take away video games. That was a big one, things like that.
Yeah.
The worst thing in the world is standing in a corner. That was my mom's punishment. She'd make me look at a corner.
Bang up.
And I did not move.
Yeah.
When I was little, like probably before I was 5, I got spanked. And then I would also, whenever I fought with my siblings, we would have to go into timeout for like 15 minutes. So we would just like go sit in our rooms. And normally when we came out of timeout, we were all best friends. So I think if we were extra bad, we would lose movies and gum and stuff like that.
Okay. How do you think that affected you in a social aspect?
Ooh, socially, I think I learned how to branch out more. I was really shy growing up, and then like in middle school and high school, I learned how to make more friends at school, and pretty extroverted now.
I definitely grew up more introverted. It took me a while to get a little bit more extroverted, which honestly has grown since I came to college, but growing up around the house, I was definitely more of an introverted kid, so.
Yeah, so my parents definitely kind of forced me to get out and make friends, and I think that had a good effect on me socially, so yeah.
I think that my dad tried to pass down a lot of scrappiness to me, and my mom, I think she passed down a lot more family-focused things to me, because my mom always had more of a stable home, at least from the outside. My dad always had to kind of learn everything for himself, and that kind of affected me both ways.
Social aspect.
It definitely set me up for success because it gave me a good how to be kind to people baseline, but also just I didn't have to worry about my home life when I was around other people as well.
I would say my parents were more authoritarian in the way that they did their parenting. My father was in the military, so the way that we did life was very strict, regulated, and with a lot of rules. So that would be my thoughts on that. As far as socially, it's made it so that I really appreciate structure in all things, and sometimes I get a little stressed out when I have to do things without direct direction.
Growing up, my parents were a mix of authoritarian and authoritative parenting. They were very hands-on with certain things, but other things they wanted to imply and make sure we followed their rules. My parents divorced when I was in high school, so they got a little more lenient and let me do a couple more things, so then they got a little more permissive. So I'd say throughout my childhood they changed a lot in their parenting styles, but I think it was okay. For my social aspect, I'd say I started out super introverted. I didn't talk a lot when I was younger because of so much going on, and then as I got older and found who I am a little more, I was able to branch out and I became a little more.
My parents were kind of authoritative, but not exactly authoritative. They did take few things from me, but then I don't consider that to be a punishment because they wanted me to focus on my education. They let me be who I am, and certain things they wanted me to change because of the society, then later I did. So they were good parents, they were amazing.
Growing up, I kind of count 3 people for who I am now. I'm at my grandma on that because my dad was kind of on the road sometimes with work, but they was also some authoritative parents. My mom and dad was split up, so I would go stay at my grandma sometimes whenever my dad was on the road, whatever. But they was also some loving parents, caring, always supported my sports events, made sure my grades was right. But on the social aspect side of it, I say I was always kind of quiet growing up. So I wasn't really just going out the way to make new friends. I always just stayed in my little circle, but I've been more outspoken now since.
The results in our study were that most of the parents were authoritative, but there were still a couple authoritarian families mixed in there.
Authoritative parenting style is where parents are strict, they set rules, but then they're open for open discussions. But then authoritarian parents are very strict that they're not even open for discussion with their kids, and they punish them.
Punishments that were talked about in this video were taking away the use of devices, which is video games, and timeouts.
So we are glad that these people were influenced by their parenting style on the social aspect. So they changed themselves from being an introvert to an extrovert, that they branched out because their parents pushed them to be one. So I think God has got them from all the hardships, and God made them who they're meant to be.